and welcome to the HSE half hour. My name is Lauren. I'm the head of networks and communications here at ENG, and myself, my colleague Laura, are going to be bringing you a half hour live show every month on all things recruitment, safety, and of course today we have a special guest with us too. So Laura, firstly, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. So as Laura said, I'm Laura Aucott. So I'm an Associate Director for HSE Recruitment and Executive Network Group. What that basically means is day job is recruiting health and safety people. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for, the last 13 years. But as a director, I get to get involved in all this other really fun stuff. So we do a lot of events. We do a lot of professional development stuff for people in the industry, and of course stuff like the live show. So yeah, that's me.
Fab. So as head of networks for ENG, I work closely with Laura and the HSE team. We create everything from your white papers, your safety industry trends, the remuneration report, which went live a couple of months back. But today is an interactive session, so please do feel free to drop any comments, any questions for both Rob and Laura, and I'll get on to introing Rob. So for the 8th instalment of this half hour live show. Today we're talking about the future of safety, so a massive topic to get through in half hour. We'll do our best. But to join us with this, we have Rob Jukes, who is the 2-time winner of the SHP Rising Star Award, super passionate advocate for health and safety and ensuring the future of the industry. So firstly, thanks for joining us, Rob. I will pass over to Rob to introduce himself.
Well, thank you for that. I'm not sure how to follow that up. I'm
no pressure.
I'm Robert Jukes. I'm Health, Safety, Environment and Quality Manager at Norfolk Tissue in Lancaster. I'm also a PhD student at Lancaster University, and I'm involved in various schemes. I've been involved with a lot of schemes in terms of IOSH, RSM, as well as Safety 7, and generally why I'm here today is that I have a genuine passion for our industry and actually the future of it. So I think without further ado, should we just crack on?
Yeah, but first thing, just twice winner of the what was it? Inspiring. What was the title?
So there's SHP's Rising Star Award. I won the manufacturing and UK overall, I think it was, and then I also won another award as well. Bit later on.
Don't be shy. Tell us about it. Yeah. But no, I think that the Rising Star Award is a great one, because that's something that's really focused on people coming up in the industry as well, isn't it? And you won that I say fairly early on in your career, didn't you? The first one.
Yeah, so I won the SHP one fairly early, probably within probably first maybe 3 or 4 years of being, I think, being in the industry in a full-time health and safety role, and then I won the HSM Rising Star one, I think, about a year later. It was quite a lot of early recognition, but at the same time, it has actually helped me thrive. There's a lot of benefits from that, and I'm a massive advocate of both schemes, to be fair, because I think it gives you that confidence, it gives you that networking capability, because it's an in to speak to a lot of people, and I think that's what puts me on the kind of puts me at the top of my game, is when I'm speaking to people that are just inspire me. So when I go to a lot of conferences and you're speaking to Ruth Denyer at Netflix, just such an amazing person with such a great knowledge that you just soak it all in. But when these people are speaking to you, that's what I always try to get out of them, really. And I've been quite fortunate to have them conversations not only at conferences but online, and that led to mentoring things. So Hugh Maxwell is a prime example of someone that's guided me right throughout my career, who's always not been afraid to tell me some of the stuff that maybe other people won't tell you. Maybe just somebody being a little bit, when you do something that it's actually like, come on, be a bit more self-aware, look at yourself. And he's very happy to tell you that, not in a bad way, but he does it in a nice way. And then same as there's all sorts of people. Stuart Hughes over at IOSH, he's a fantastic person again to connect with. I mean, I could sit here and remind people off all day, but the recognition them awards give you is that it gives me that confidence to speak to these people, which I might not necessarily have had previously. But at the same time, I wouldn't say you need to win them awards to speak to people. I always say to reach out, and some of these people are some of the most engaging and kindest and helpful people that will, they might not be able to help you themselves, but they'll be able to pass you on to someone that will. So
yeah, absolutely.
Work.
Wow, thank you for that. So, Laura, as a recruiter, what do you see as some of the main issues that we need to discuss when we're thinking about the future generation of health and safety?
Yeah, cool. So how long have you got?
Well, 25 minutes left. Let's go.
Yeah, so look, there's loads and loads of stuff that we could talk about today, right? There's lots of different issues facing the industry. For me, when I'm thinking of the future of health and safety, the thing that I'm really, really aware of is the age gap, right, in health and safety at the moment, and that has really been exacerbated, I think, by the stuff that happened with COVID and the pandemic. Yeah. So what we found is there was always quite a big age gap anyway in the safety market. A lot of people come to health and safety as a second career. So, they'd maybe done warehousing or ops or something like that beforehand, and then got into health and safety in maybe like their 30s, their 40s, rather than starting out in it. And what that means is that we've got quite a lot of people now in 40s, 50s, 60 age bracket, and then a massive gap. And then people coming in sort of at 18. And obviously at some point, those people at the top end, they're gonna retire and they're going to come out of the career pool, and yet COVID massively exacerbated that. We had a period of what was nearly 2 years where people were working from home or were furloughed or had different ways of working to what they'd done previously. And I think a lot of people that we speak to in the safety market, they kind of realized about the work-life balance. They had 2 years of just spending time with their families all the time, and it's just changed people's priorities. So we're finding a lot more people sort of retiring a little bit earlier, maybe thinking, okay, well, actually it's time to pass the baton. But pass the baton to who? That's kind of the issue here. So I think we really need to start thinking about pipelining that talent and making sure that we're pulling people in. We've talked a lot in the past about diversity and inclusion. It's such an important topic to me and to others in the industry. But one of the things with that is when you look at some of the social mobility reports that have been done, the younger generation, they are very aware of this stuff. They're very aware of diversity and inclusion. They're aware of the perception of different industries, and they tend to think that there are certain industries and certain careers that they may be hampered if they come from a different background, if they're a different gender, a different sexuality. So things like the construction industry, for example, often has a hard time attracting people outside of the status quo, going for the more diverse crowd, because they've got a reputation of maybe, the banter's a little bit more than you would expect, or maybe they're not opening to people from different backgrounds. And I don't think safety is as bad as that, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it necessarily has maybe the appeal of some other industries. So I think we're fighting quite a big fight there, trying to get people to think of it as a first-time career. And was it a first-time career for you, Rob? Did you come in straight into safety?
No, I actually my first degree was actually in law.
Right.
And then I ended up at BA Systems, and then I was doing something entirely different. And through my experience, I ended up going into health and safety, and I was very fortunate that they arranged an internal secondment for me to actually get into health and safety and get that experience. And it's something I will always be thankful for as well.
Absolutely. And see, and that's it, isn't it? Again, so like I said, you're getting a lot of people coming through secondary. And I don't know about you, Rob, but I absolutely was not told that health and safety was a career option when I was in school. Like, I had no idea it even existed as a job. So lots of issues, but to me, that's a really, really big one. I think we're going to, in the next few years, find a point where more people are retiring than we can kind of bring in.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks, Laura. That was a really good overview. So, Rob, when we've spoken about this previously, you had some real interesting insights. So what are your thoughts on how we can bring, more youth to the industry if we've got that big gap and, a lot of retiring aged individuals? How can we attract some more youth to HSE?
I think it's a combination. Firstly, combination of making health safety, we are known as a second career choice, so we should embrace some aspects of it, because we have got that, there is a lot of transferable skills that people can bring into the industry and can actually, get a good opportunity within health and safety with certain skills. Secondly, we need to make it a first career of choice as well. That's where we've traditionally had the problem. But that's engaging, younger and I don't want to say younger generations as well, because sometimes people decide to go into university and we all know when you go to university, your degree can be in something that you've got an interest, but it's not your career. So we engage some of the old generations as well. But what we want to do is we want to use the platforms and the kind of apps that they use. So, we should be looking at stuff like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and putting a lot of stuff out there. And there's some great people that actually do that across the industry. I could probably rhyme out a lot of stuff from podcasts to TikToks to Instagram, but that's not why we're here. What we're here for is to talk about the idea of the general overview. The other aspect for me is, we need to see leaders in the industry like ourselves actually engage through them platforms, because if we're always using LinkedIn and we're not using other ones, then we're guilty of not actually trying to inspire these new generations or even actually make an awareness of it. But then the other aspect as well is actually take solid action as well as to, what are we actually doing when people are coming into the industry? How are we supporting people? There's some great schemes out there that people are doing in terms of educating people coming into the industry. There's a lot of people providing, a lot more work experience opportunities, which I think is great. That's one of the big ones for me, is we need to push that, and we need to see people actually commit to stuff. Never mind saying, "Oh, I'll do this, I'll do that," and you never actually see anything happen. Actually, you need to see people, deliver and actually put the, if you say you're going to do something, do it. But at the same time as well, it goes back to the funding opportunities. There's a lot more funding available now for courses. Even if you want to self-fund, you look at some of the diplomas now, you can actually pay for them on credit schemes. Now, I know that they can be a problem for some people, but for some people, it might actually be the only way they can do it. And it might allow them to enable someone to start the diploma earlier than later, which I think is a great thing, because the sooner you get yourself qualified, the better in terms of looking at, jobs. At the end of the day, you are going to struggle to get a job if you have minimum qualifications. Where the more qualifications you have, although you need experience, you might find that companies are a bit more willing to work with you.
Does this mean I have to learn how TikTok works? Because that's the one I definitely can't figure out. I completely agree with you, Rob. I think there's some really, really good points in there, but the one you said about appealing to the new generation in different ways, I think makes a lot of sense, because the way that we've always done recruitment, and this actually isn't just about attracting young people, this is about attracting more diverse people and stuff like that as well. But when we've previously recruited, the old school way is you put a job spec up, right? And it's just a job spec with a couple of bullet points, and they all look pretty similar. There's nothing massively exciting about them. And that's not always going to attract the sort of people that you want. It's that whole thing, isn't it? If you always do what you've always done, kind of thing, you get the same results. So I know during COVID we tried doing some different things. We tried doing like some video adverts and stuff, which went down really, really well. We definitely do a lot on social media. We're very big on LinkedIn. We do stuff on Twitter, we do stuff on Instagram. TikTok is the one I do not know. So can you teach me, Robbie? You're a TikTok star.
I'm not, to be fair. I mean, it's just what I think we need to do. The other aspect I'll say is actually advertise the good stuff about the role. There's a lot of you can use technology, you can adopt different approaches. No same days, you don't have the same day every day, do you? You're involved in all this different stuff. And I think the best person I've seen highlight that was James at Rebranding Safety. He highlighted, I think, that video a while ago where he highlighted a lot of that, and it was actually really good what he summarised in that one. It's only like a 30-second clip, I think it was at the time. But when he highlighted it, it was like, there's all these different things that we do in our role. That's what we need to be getting out there, because a lot of the younger generations, they don't want to be doing the same thing. They want to be doing all this different stuff. They want to be using new tech. They want to be using, the latest apps and stuff. And if we we can embrace them within our industry. There's a lot of great stuff that we use. If you look at the latest headsets coming on there, you can actually walk around and talk to the headset and do your audit while you're walking around with this crazy cool headset. And there's stuff like that we need to utilize. UAVs. How many applications are there now for UAVs that on drones that we can actually inspect a roof, or you can there's all this stuff you can do now, which is all part of our umbrella. Some of it borders on other functions, but at the end of the day, we get involved as we want and as we need to be fair. For younger generations coming in, that's what we need to kind of push, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, well, I was going to say almost that we haven't planned it. We haven't planned this, but that actually really ties into the branding bit as well, which I'm super passionate about, because that's all about perception, isn't it? And how the industry is seen. And, I know that safety traditionally outside of the safety industry can be seen as as a negative thing. It's like it's something that stops you doing things, where we know that's absolutely not the case. So if we can, get some really strong branding out there and change that perception and show them, like you said, all this cool stuff we're doing with the drones, the new technology, and the fact that this isn't about stopping people doing stuff. This is about innovation. This is about, making people's lives better. I think that's definitely going to appeal to, particularly, again, the younger generation, because it's been shown in loads of studies, they're all about the ethics, right? This new generation, that's the stuff they care about. So safety is just a perfect industry for them, surely, to tie that into. If that's what they care about, is ethical and making things right and making the moral decision, then health and safety is absolutely the industry for that.
Just elaborating on that, I think I'd go further and say that health and safety isn't just health and safety now. We get very involved in other function or other aspects. So you have environment, you have sustainability, you have security. There's all sorts of stuff around that we kind of often get involved in. Whether it's bolted on or whether it's part of the role, there's a lot of stuff there and a lot of differences with different organisations or industries. But for someone coming into the career, though, to sit there and say, I've had exposure to all this, that is a really good experience that you'll find that will benefit you right throughout your career. And even if you decide that after 5 years safety isn't that, you know what, they're going to be so much better because they've had that insight and they've had all these different experiences. The other thing I'd look at as well is, some of the roles within health and safety, are amazing. If you look at, one of my previous roles was, when you're working on nuclear submarines for school. You look at every time I moved into a different industry, I was been like, oh wow, this is amazing. Just because I love industry, I love the way it works. I went to construction, and that was completely different. And then I went into paper making, and that was like, wow, to get your head around how the machine runs, and just the sheer complexity was, it was pretty cool, to be fair. But you look at all these different aspects, and that's just my career, to date. You look at other people's careers, you look at, I've had friends that work for, Formula One teams that work in, the MOD, one of, Jamie at Foreign Office, he's a fantastic guy in his career. He's worked at Sellafield, then, he's working at, for the MOD, and then he went to Foreign Office, and now he's traveling the globe, advising all, it's there's so much opportunity there, and that's just a few people's career that we're talking about. If you multiply that by the thousands of people in it, there's all this experience and opportunities that you can get. And for me, it's why wouldn't you want that?
Yeah,
and then just elaborating on your ethical side of it, a lot of the stuff with health and safety and environment all goes back to your UN sustainability goals anyway, and a lot of that, the impact you can have on bringing them, from that concept as the UN's put out there and actually implementing in practice in your business is a challenge. But when you actually do it and you see it happening, it's actually quite rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's not all smooth sailing, though, is it? When we do manage to attract, I don't just want to say the younger generation, but, newbies to the safety industry, especially the younger generation, they do want to be dealt with in a different way. You mentioned earlier communication via different platforms to attract them. But what about to retain them? I mean, we see this in different markets that they do want to align with a company that aligns with their kind of ethical purpose. But how does this translate into the safety market, Rob? Have you seen that, the younger generation want to be dealt with differently when they get into a business safety wise?
Definitely, there's a massive, if you look across the, was it 6 generations in the workforce now that we're seeing? I think there's 6. I think in some cases there's 7. If you look at the very extremes, some organisations you could have someone, within senior management that's, in the upper 70s, potentially even early 80s, because if you own a company, you're never going to let go of it. Similarly, you want to see that progress, and similarly, apprentices coming in what, 16, 17 now. So, there's that massive gap, and I know they're the extreme ends, but, if we even cut that down and say, right, from the 20s right the way up to the 60s, 70s, that's still quite a generational gap. And how then people want to be, communicated to is completely different. Some people prefer face-to-face communication. And don't forget, just because someone's in a younger generation doesn't mean they're going to want that latest, that generational style of being spoken to. They'll have their own way that they want to be dealt with. They'll have their own different cultural and experiences that they've lived through that they want to, that will shape their personality and how they are. So we as professionals, when we're trying to, communicate to people, and also be attractive and then retain them. We need to understand them and actually, really pay attention to the individuals and that make up our team, and actually the whole team.
Absolutely.
Culture there. And the thing that I'll kind of highlight is, you've got to adapt that, whether it means, you adopt a more a better approach when you send an email, so you make them nice and short and sweet, or you actually, send them a bit more of an essay if that's what they like. You go speak to people in person. I prefer speaking to people in person, but it might be that people have different ways, and you've got to adopt them. And because how you speak to one person in one industry is going to be completely different to how you speak to someone in another industry. There is trends that will help you, but you've got to get to know people.
Yeah, definitely. To jump in there, we've had a couple of comments regarding, the balance between academic qualifications and experience. And I think that can be something that can be quite tricky, for newbies to gain that experience in order to compete with, they've got their qualification, what's kind of best. But yeah, a lot of people here have said, experience on the tools is so valuable, actual safety experience, but it's just for, I suppose, newbies in the industry to get that exposure, isn't it, to get that opportunity to
not even newbies. At the end of the day, if you're a senior leadership, going down and actually seeing someone on the tools and working with them, watching what they do can be one of the best experiences you can get, because you and what it gives to the people on the shop floor when you're doing that is amazing, because they say, actually, these people actually care and they want to understand what problems are. So not just doing that from a newbie level, but right the way throughout, you should always be trying to remain in touch with what's going on in the shop floor, what's going on in different departments. And the same as you say about qualification experience, no one style fits all. Don't try to be something else. Be yourself. I'd say make it easier for yourself by picking courses that will, is more in line with your learning style. But at the same time, don't push yourself out of the comfort zone, because you find that you grow more. And by pushing yourself out of the comfort zone and by doing that, you're going to find skills that you probably wouldn't have had if you did that skill. You're going to become more resilient. You're going to improve certain parts of your own self-awareness, because when you're pushing yourself out of that comfort zone, you do sit there and think, what have I got myself into? But you learn. You remember that. You remember how did you get through it? Because you will get through it. That moment that you're in that might be 10 minutes, or it might be a day, or it might be a week, but you will get through it at some point. And even if you fail it, you've still got a learning experience that's benefited you.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, I mean, we touched on it earlier about the appeal of the industry, didn't we? And how it can be quite tough from a perception point of view. And I think, Rob, when we spoke previously, you mentioned it can be quite challenging, for as we talk about the kind of youth of today, they're seeing influencers, online earning all this money. How does safety compete with that as an industry? How do we make it stand out as a first career, not just a secondary career of something great to go into, but from day dot, from apprenticeship level, from grad schemes? Like how do we make safety sexy, basically?
Great question.
I mean, if you can do that, you'll probably be a millionaire. But for me, we're not going to compete with footballers. We're not going to compete with Instagrammers and influencers that are making all that top money. At the end of the day, there is a set salary that we'll offer. There's benefits that we can offer. And that's what we need to do, is understand what benefits we as an organisation and as an industry can offer. We need to understand what the language that people want is, and we utilize that language. We show that we're open, that anyone can actually come into our industry. We're not just one type. If you look back to the old adage of health and safety, was we'd walk around with a clipboard and they would tend to be like middle-aged white males. So, that's not necessarily the case now. It's actually, we're becoming one of the most diverse industries, and that for me is a good thing. We show people, that anyone can get into this industry, and we have all these diverse opinions. And there's a good book, I think it's Rebel Ideas, where they talk about diversity of thought.
Okay.
It's one of Matthew Say's one, but that's a great. The theory behind it's actually really good. But when you look at it, that's what we as an industry need to be, to show that anyone can come into this industry. You can get what you put in whatever you put in, you'll get out. So if you don't put much effort in, like anything, you're not going to get much out.
Yeah.
But if you go in and put a lot of effort in, you're going to find that you're going to get so much out of it, whether it be, friendships, whether it be learning thing, whether it be roles, whether it be experiences, there is all that. And you've just got to be mindful when you're going through that of what direction you want to go in, because a lot of people that come into the industry sit there and think, oh, I want to be a director. But actually, why is that? A lot of people think I want that director because they see it as, that's the pinnacle, and they want that's what they want. And I was the same when I first came in. I want to be a director, but now I'm sat there, I'm quite comfortable in my role because I'm quite comfortable in my own abilities and in how I value myself, and that I can contribute in a lot of situations. I know my limitations as well. So I think when you start to become more confident in what you do, suddenly a lot of that, oh, I want to be a director, I want to be this, I want to be that. Suddenly you actually think, you know what, I'm not bothered by that. I actually want to be happy in my role and have a good work-life balance. I mean, I'm not the best example of that. I'm probably the worst person about work-life balance. So, don't approach me about work-life balance tips, but I can tell you what to do. I just got to do it myself. But when we attract people in, that's what we need to be mindful of. People are going to have different work-life balance requirements, different, work. Some people want to be able to work like part-time. That's great. We've got opportunities that are part-time in that industry, but we need to, get better as organisations and actually as an industry of how do we promote these. You've seen the R&Es that, I've been guilty myself, like, put an R&E out there that's probably like your pages long. And actually, do we need it to be pages? Do we need it to be like that, or do we change it slightly, make it more snappy, or more relevant to people that are looking at it? Because I don't think any generation looks at an R&E that's like 5 pages long and thinks, oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, true.
I mean, someone here in the comments has put, it's not really about being a sexy industry. It's about driving and delivering better remuneration packages. And this has been a big source of it. Supply demand has inflated salaries, but for newcomer level, I can imagine probably not so much. Laura's the expert in that. And we have released a remuneration report. If you'd like to see that, please just drop us a message. And someone has equally said, we need more women in the industry, which leads on to the whole D&I piece, not just attracting more diversity, but the inclusion piece, welcoming them, keeping them in industry. It is important, retention as well as attraction. So I think, we're nearly at the half hour, guys. So thank you ever so much.
Just highlight that though, second. There is a lot of fantastic women's safety groups. I think there are. We just need to highlight that because there is a lot of great groups out there doing a lot of great work, and there's a lot of great people behind them groups. So I really would encourage you to, if you are looking at that, or you know people that are interested and you think, oh, safety is not this, go to them groups, because there is so many fantastic people, in them groups that are actually promoting stuff. And we could sit here all day and talk about them, but we've passed half an hour already. And
well, actually, on that note as well, we're doing a panel on inclusion at the health and safety event in April in Birmingham, which will be really, really great. So again, if people are interested in that subject, definitely pop along and see us. It's on the Tuesday at 3:00, and it'll be myself, Malcolm from L'Oreal will be there, Melissa Mark Joyce will be there, and a lady called Anita, who's an inclusion specialist as well. So big topic.
Yeah, fab. Well, thank you ever so much for your input today, both, especially yourself, Rob. You've given us some real great insight and a lot of takeaways, for not just attracting the next generation, but how, they want to be, just little things, how they want to be communicated with. As I say, it's not a kind of one size fits all, but it's about understanding these people, encouraging them to stay in the industry and kind of plugging that gap. So it's been great. In terms of kind of next session, we're aiming to kind of continue the thought leadership side. So if you do have anyone that you want to see as a guest, please do comment. But I think we are aiming towards sustainability in health and safety next. But thank you for all your comments and input today. I'll pass back over to Laura.
Just more of the same, really. I think everything that we've gone over today is super, super important. And like Rob said, any of those points we could have picked out and talked about for hours, because there is so much here. But I think one of the things you mentioned at the start, Rob, about like the mentoring thing and reaching out to people, and like you said, with people like Hugh Maxwell and stuff like that, I think is massively important. Definitely. I'd really encourage people, if you are looking to make safety your career, or you're looking to progress in your safety career, the mentoring thing is just such a must. So that would be my action point for everybody today, is to go away and find yourself a mentor.
Fab. Thank you for that.
Lovely. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
Cool. See you later. Bye.
Bye.